Let's talk about training with pain. First thing we need to do is define 4 terms that give us a better, more accurate way to express what we normally call pain. And so we're going to start on this end, which is more less pain, and this side, which is more pain. And it's going to be all along the spectrum. So the first thing that we're going to talk about over here is called an insult. And an insult, imagine that you have your foot is in a sock right now, or your foot's in a shoe. You generally don't feel that shoe on your foot unless you're thinking about it, right? So just the fact of anything that's actually like contacting us, whether when it's out of our awareness, just generally, that's an insult. The next step is irritation. And irritation is something that when we talk about it here, it's what most people talk about when you're on a pain scale, right? And we want to be super articulate, and that's why we're breaking the label pain into 4 different terms. So irritation. Irritation can be anything from feeling like a hot spot on your foot, like let's say you're walking or something and you haven't like generated a blister, but you can kind of feel your sock rubbing against your skin. And so generally what happens is irritation causes some sort of adaptation. So with this sock analogy, you're gonna take your shoe off, you're gonna unbunch your sock, you're gonna maybe put a Band-Aid on, you're gonna do something to alleviate that irritation. And so irritation can be as benign as that like hot spot. Irritation can also be like a 10 out of 10 feeling of discomfort where you need to go to the ER, you need to go see a doctor, you need to seek medical attention. So irritation is a big, wide spectrum. The next term is pain. And pain is an emotional response to irritation. It's often amplified by uncertainty. So going from irritation to pain really just depends on our reference point and what we're feeling, right? So let's say, for example, you have a kid, you see them like catch their toe, they stub their toe, and all of a sudden it's like the world has ended, right? Because they don't have, there's a lot of uncertainty. Maybe this is the first time they've ever stubbed their toe, and they're just like experiencing this kind of pain for the first time, unknowing if this pain is ever going to subside, right? You're going to have a bigger emotional experience. Now imagine yourself walking into that same table, stubbing your toe. You're going to like feel it. You're going to feel that irritation. It's most likely not going to be that like 10 out of 10, right? Because you have a bit of certainty surrounding like, yeah, I've done this before. It's going to throb. It's going to maybe take a few days, and then I'm going to be fine, right? So that in and of itself is pain. That pain is an emotional response to that irritation that we talked about just prior to this. The last, over here on this side, the last term we're going to talk about is injury. Injury is the decision that I can't. Injury is something that we make a choice of, absent from like a physiological, if you break your femur, you physiologically cannot do something, right? But short of that, especially when we're talking about chronic pain, injury is really defined by the definition of I can't, right? I can't go upstairs, I can't walk down an incline, I can't pick up a bag of dog food off the ground, right? That may be true, and that'll like take some unpacking, but also it could lend itself to being challenged for a bit. So in the future, as we talk about pain or discomfort in these in this practice, we are going to want to be more articulate, right? So training through pain, we're really going to be assessing our irritation level. And from that, we are going to get into the second part of training with pain. Having a really good idea of what our definitions of irritation all the way through injury are, or insult all the way to injury. We're going to talk through the 4 rules that I use with my clients to ensure that we are working within the realm of irritation that drives positive adaptation. There is a threshold that we can easily cross that drives adaptation that is like not conducive to healing, not conducive to getting better. It's just making us worse, right? And so we're going to start with the first rule. The first rule is irritation or discomfort is going to be a 4 out of 10 or below. So the sliding scale of irritation is going to vary person to person. My personal definition of irritation that is like a 5 is something that I would want to take over-the-counter medication for. So some sort of Advil or Aleve or something like that. So if I am experiencing a irritation that is not radiating, it doesn't feel like a sharp stab, this is just a feeling, right, that I'm having either in my knee or my lower back or my ankle, but it's not anything that I would want to immediately take over-the-counter painkillers for, then that's going to fall into the realm, most likely, of my 4 out of 10 or below. And that's something that is going to be unique to each person, and something that over the course of our initial working together, or over the course of starting this training program, we're going to have to really kind of suss out and find our way. So first rule is we do not train if we are experiencing irritation or discomfort that is 4 or higher than 4 out of 10. Second rule is that as we continue to work, whether that is working within our working sets or working throughout the entire training session, pain is going to, discomfort, irritation, that is going to stay the same, or it's going to reduce. Oftentimes, especially the first phase of training together with somebody new, I'm going to continually ask, does you feel any discomfort? And then as we progress, okay, does it feel worse? Does it feel better? Or does it stay the same? Ideally, if we are starting at like a 3, we're going to stay at a 3, or we're going to reduce as the movements go on or the training session goes on, right? So the second rule is that our irritation or discomfort is going to stay the same, or it's going to improve as our training cycle, as our training sessions progress. Third rule is when we stop, the irritation stops. So what I mean by that is, let's say we're doing squats and there was a bit of irritation, it was about a 3, and then when you stop doing that movement, you start maybe just walking around, that irritation should reduce, or it should stay the same. It should not get worse. If you have ever gotten to a point where you feel like you've kind of gone over the cliff a little bit, and you set the weight down and you start walking away, and that irritation starts to build, that is a sign that we need to alter the weight, we need to alter the range of motion, or we just need to completely alter the movement in general, right? We need to come back, we need to regulate our state, figure out what's going on, and then we will progress, right? So rule number 3 is when we stop, that irritation should stop, stay the same, or reduce, right? So the fourth rule is this 48-hour rule. And what I mean by that is within 48 hours, we should experience no more irritation than what we had experienced during that training session. So a lot of times, I'm sure you've seen it on social media, where you do a training session and then, man, I couldn't sit on the toilet for 3 days. That is an example of too much. If we experience that, that means that we were overdosed with whatever kind of movement or weight. I introduced too much too soon, right? And so we completely strive for any kind of irritation and discomfort should be the same or reduced within 48 hours. So those are the 4 training rules that I use to ensure that we are making positive adaptations. It's very easy to go over the well, over the edge, over the cliff with no pain, no gain, soreness equals effectiveness. Pain is just something that comes with training. That is not the case. That just simply isn't true. So enjoy this. Take this into the gym with you, and we'll catch you next time.